Last time you saw me, I crossed into West Berkshire. I'd started walking that day 17 miles to the west in Avebury Stone Circle. So, as you can imagine, I was exhausted.
This is so tough. It is so tough to work up the hill to walk a bit further.
Despite the exhaustion, I still had close to 3 miles to walk and only an hour and a half until my train from Hungerford back to my home in Reading. Did I make it? Find out in this episode of Walking the Length of the A4. Hello, my name's John, filmmaker and slightly experienced walker. And last year, I decided to go on a bit of a journey. I wanted to walk the length of the historic road linking the west coast of England to London. There'll be highs.
Oh, I'm covering ground fast here. Loving it.
And lows.
Well, I've still got another 25 minutes.
And lots of walking. Please enjoy this episode of Walking the Length of the A4. So I feel about halfway through the series, a progress update is needed. I started walking the length of the A4 from Avonmouth that Monday and had walked at least 8 miles of the road every day since then, and now we find ourselves on Friday, 3 miles out from Hungerford in West Berkshire. I needed to get back to my home in Reading that night, and I would return to the route of the A4 in the coming weeks to complete the journey. There was just one problem.
Alright, I've got an hour till the 10 past 8 train, and I'm apparently about 35 minutes away, so I've got time. But this must be about my 10th break.
So, it was doable, but I really had to push my already broken body to the absolute limit.
That's Hungerford right there. But I've still got another, 20 minutes, 25 minutes of walking at least. I just want to get there though. I really just want to get there. I'm so close now. But it's just making these last few steps. It's just, it's agonising. But it's so close. So close now. Oh, we've got about 20 steps until I'm leaving the A4 for today. Okay, maybe 50. But there's a mini roundabout here. And that's it. I'm going to turn right and the A4 goes left. Oh, man. We've nearly done it. Left the A4 for the first time since April. I don't even know how far I went today. But that's like incredible. Oh, okay. I'm not going to get many shots around here because I'm going to come back and finish this section of the walk. But next time you see me, probably from the station. We made it. I can't believe we made it. We actually made it to the station. Oh my god. Oh, today was a long day, long, really hard day. But yeah, I'm absolutely exhausted right now. I'm glad I have 2 days off work. This has been a really fun 5 days though. Started off in Avonmouth and made it all the way here. I'll be back to it next week or the week after, but for now I think I need a little bit of rest.
A week and a half later, very well rested, I was back at Reading Station, ready to travel to Hungerford for the next leg of the walk. Wait, what? That bizarre issue sorted, I found myself on the way back to Hungerford.
Welcome back to Hungerford. Last time I was here I was so exhausted, walked about 16, 17 miles after doing consecutive days of 8+ mile walks. But we're back, we've had a week and a bit off. I'm feeling absolutely refreshed and fine, and I might film a little bit of stuff in Hungerford for a change.
This is Hungerford, sadly remembered mostly for the 1987 shooting. If you look beyond that, however, it's a very traditional and very interesting town in the, and I quote here, heart of the North Wessex Downs. Honestly, out of all the places on the trip, I recommend further research into Hungerford the most. I can't do it justice here. Anyway, before long, I found myself where I finished off the walk the other day.
Alright, I'm on the A4 again. I'm exactly where I was when I went off it just over a week ago. So what are we waiting for? Let's just, well, first of all we've got to find around to the other side of the road with this incredibly busy mini roundabout. Footpath's already run out. I've only been on the road for about like 20 minutes on the A4, probably less than 10, and it's already run out.
Seems I've run into this footpath problem quite a bit recently, but why is the lack of footpath such a big problem to me? Well, for one, even though walking on the road is legally okay, I still feel like a major inconvenience to the cars while on it. It's okay if it's a country road in the middle of nowhere, but this is the A4. It's a little bit busier than that.
Oh, I feel so dangerous. Speeding past me.
Secondly, being on the road and watching out for cars makes me less inclined to film anything. I wanted to get footage of this journey, and with no footpath, I couldn't really do that. And finally, even though I no longer had my bag on me, as for the rest of this trip I wouldn't be staying at hotels, when I did have my bag, I was cumbersome, and moving swiftly out of the way was difficult. The lack of a bag and the week's rest hugely helped me.
I'm now just imagining what it would have been like if I stayed in Hungerford that night and I carried on walking the next day. I think by this point I would have taken 2 breaks already. Oh god, I'm so glad I took that week off, man. Well, week off, I mean I was at work, most of it, but just not having to walk like 17 miles.
So, now you're all caught up, I'll let you know my plan for the day. Starting in Hungerford, I cross deeper into West Berkshire, pass a very significant point in the walk and enter Newbury, officially crossing the gap. That was just 9 miles, and unlike the other days of the trip, ending them at hotels or on a late night train, that afternoon I'd end the day in a much more preferable way.
I'm going to carry on walking into Newbury, where I'll be meeting Alex and Ollie, who are friends who I've not seen in ages. Well, ages, only about 6 months, but feels like ages. And that's where I'm going to finish the walk today, in Newbury. It's only 9 miles long, and I've not got a bag on my back. It's going to be so easy to do this section.
I planned to meet with them by 3. It was around 11 o'clock when I shot this clip, so I needed to make good progress.
I am at a fairly normal looking junction off the A4. What can be so special about this place? One, the footpath's back, which is good. You know, I no longer need to get in the road for a little while at least. And there's one thing more to be excited about this place. When I first started planning the A4 walk, it might not be the case, well it would be the case now, but I might not have done the right measurements then. But when I first started planning it, I measured the distance and I found the halfway point of the A4 in a really rough estimate. Halfway across the A4 is this junction. We're halfway there. We're halfway from that roundabout in Avonmouth to New Fetter Lane in London. It's quite good, isn't it? We're halfway there. Now here's the thing, that might change with more research. That was only a rough estimate when I first started planning the walk, and it's not the halfway point of the walk entirely, because I did that little diversion around A3, and then I also didn't walk through Keene, Sherman, Bath East, and well, the A4. So technically the halfway point is actually a little further on, but of the A4 itself, that was what I found to be halfway. So we've done half the walk. Oh my god, we've done half the A4. Oh, yes.
After I completed the walk, I measured the distance again, and ignoring any time I wasn't on the A4, but including all the planned hiccups, That junction is only 405 metres to the east of the actual halfway point. That's so negligible in the context of a 126-mile walk that you may as well call that junction the halfway point.
Oh, there was a lot to unpack with that sign, or milestone, just whatever it's called. 5 miles to Newbury, 5 miles. 4 miles from Hungerford, so that means we're nearly halfway to Newbury. Well, not halfway to the end of the walk today, and 61 miles to London. I remember when that was like the sign which was before Avebury, that was something like 82, so I've done 21 miles. I've done more than that, but it's around that much, so I've done 20 miles since then. Oh, I'm covering ground fast here, loving it. That's the halfway in, that's what they think is the halfway point between Bristol and London, not the A4, but more or less the A4. I would have loved to have had a drink in there actually, but for one, me and Ollie and Alex have plans to meet at 3 o'clock, and I don't think I'll make it at this current pace, let alone having a drink there. And also it's closed, so sadly I won't be able to have a drink there anyway, even if I wanted to. But, that's a pretty big landmark, isn't it? So that's the thing, I aim to get there for 3, probably at this rate it's looking about 3:15, 3:30. But I'll try and make it for as quick as possible, because I want to see them.
This leg of the walk was never going to be the longest. However, the landmarks I've passed certainly made it one of the most important. And now, officially in the second half of the walk, and over halfway through the series, this is where I leave you for this episode. Come back next time as I close in on Newbury.